I think he's better off as in the 5 or the 6 hole. But if he does back cleanup, then Muncie will probably bat 5th. Maybe Chris bat 6th. Gavin Lux might bat 7th if he's around that long. And then they'll just round out the lineup with Jason Hayward and kind of a platoon of him and either Teoscar Hernandez and then whoever else. So, their lineup obviously will be a lot better with Shohei in there. I was glad they brought Hayward back. Hayward had a solid season for him last year, a good veteran presence in the clubhouse. They're going to need that again this year. And Teoscar, I like that signing too. I think Teoscar, depending on how much playing time he has and he's going to get, he's going to produce easily between 20 to 25 home runs. He can drive in 80 to 90 still, and still bat a respective 268, 270 above. So if we can get that kind of production out of Teoscar, he's going to love playing the outfield at Dodger Stadium, which is a lot more spacious than it was up there at Safeco Field in Seattle and in Toronto as well. I think that, Toronto is a bigger outfield than Dodger Stadium. But the point being is that Teoscar can do so many things for them, not only offensively, but defensively too. So he fits that versatility for them really well, both in the lineup and in the field too.
Yeah, it should be interesting. What do you make of, I guess, the rotation? Yamamoto and then, Kershaw. When's Buehler coming back? Should be later this year.
From what I've been hearing right now, they're slating Buehler to come back probably late April, early May. And Ryan,
sooner than I thought it would.
Yeah, a little bit sooner than what we all thought. And even when he does come back, though, Ryan, they're not going to stretch him out beyond 5 innings in any of his starts, just to preserve that second Tommy John surgery he's coming off of. So when he does come back, when he does start, yeah, not a lot of innings workloads there on him. I'd be surprised if he logs 160, 170 innings this year just because of that. Beyond that, I'm scared of their rotation, to be honest, because Tyler Glasnow coming off major elbow surgery, Walker Buehler coming off major elbow surgery, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, great talent in Japan, still don't know what he has. Emmett Sheehan going to start the season on the injured list. Clayton Kershaw, if he does come back this year, won't come back until maybe mid to late August at the earliest. So the point I'm trying to make here is all of it. And Bobby Miller.
They just moved it to 60 day. I don't know when that started. They just moved him to 60 day. I don't know when that started though.
Yeah, that was retroactive for last Wednesday or Thursday, I think, if I'm not too much mistaken. But yeah, and then Bobby Miller, of course, he had a solid rookie year last year. We'll have to see what he can do in his sophomore season. But Ryan, that starting rotation, it's basically they should have a walking Red Cross for the pitcher side of the locker room, because those guys are either coming off injury or injury prone. Glasnow, he's already been announced as the day one opening starter for the Dodgers for their series in Seoul, South Korea. So we'll get to see what he has early on coming out of the gate. But I got to tell you, Ryan, I'll be honest with you. I think they need to get at least another decent frontline starter in there just to strengthen out their rotation. And they still, by the way, don't have a fifth starter. Competition for the fifth starter is still up in the air. Who knows who that's going to be? So right now, Andrew Freeman and Dave Roberts are really rolling the dice on that rotation.
Especially with guys like Montgomery and Snell still hanging out.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked that Montgomery is still out there more than Snell, just because I think Montgomery presents a better high reward, right? Money being first and foremost. Also high reward, low risk venture than what Snell is at this point. But I think they're both Boris representatives. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me either.
Mm-hmm. That's the number one issue.
Number one issue, first and foremost, is that they're represented by Boris. Thank you very much, Scott. And when I last heard, the Red Sox were flirting around with Jordan Montgomery, especially when they found out that Lucas Giolito is going to be out for the year with Tommy John surgery. So Jordan may end up in Boston here before too long.
I'm surprised that didn't happen sooner. If you've ever watched Lucas Giolito pitch a baseball, the way he kind of like short arms his delivery from like in here looks so weird.
Yeah, he never came up over the top the way a lot of guys normally do.
Yeah, he kind of threw from his side and pushed the ball. It was interesting. So surprised it didn't happen sooner.
It kind of reminds me of a guy that used to pitch for the White Sox way back in the day named Jack McDowell, Trader Jack, who won 20 games in the Cy Young for the White Sox. He was good with that split-fingered fastball. but because he had kind of a three-quarter delivery that came over this way rather than the top, ultimately his career ended because of that. So I agree with you that Giolito's lasted this long without having more elbow surgeries is really surprising.
Speaking of former White Sox with elbow injuries, I mean, Chris Sale almost dominated from May on last year, and now he's a Brave for pennies on the dollar.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was a good signing for the Braves, just because their coaching staff and their pitching coaches, I think, will be able to work with Sale in a much different way than what he got when he was in Boston. Also, he doesn't have to shoulder the load of being the primary starter there for the Braves. They have some outstanding young starting pitching up there, as you know. Spencer Strider, one of the best fastballs in the game and one of the best porn mustaches I've ever seen in my life as well. So, yay to that. But
and
yeah,
some of the tightest pants.
Right, exactly. So Sale is going to benefit from having those young guys start in front of him. And again, he won't have to burden the load of being the number one starter. He can just go back to doing what he did really well, which was throw a baseball, and hopefully being around that environment there in Atlanta, where they know a little thing or two about producing some really good pitchers in their franchise's history, will pay dividends for him there.
Yeah, they're going on like 30 years strong of producing great starting pitch. Goes back even further than that, but
It does.
you know,
yeah,
I don't know how to read foreign languages, guy. But this guy is happy the World Cup is coming to the United States.
isn't that in 2 years?
26, right?
Yeah, 26. I think it's going to be at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we need to go.
God, as if the traffic in LA wasn't bad enough already.
Yeah. I would like to say I want to go because I only live 5 hours away from Los Angeles, but I agree with you, Ryan. It's like normal LA traffic multiplied by a factor of 10 with the World Cup out there. It's going to be a shitstorm, man.
Well, I'm interested as to when they're going to do it too, because I mean, at some point you'll have the Dodgers, you'll have the Angels, you'll have any of the football teams. I mean, when are they plan on doing the World Cup?
Well, I wouldn't be as concerned as much about the Angels because the Angels play in Anaheim, and
Live.
primary fan base is stuck down in Orange County rather than up in Los Angeles. So, but still, you're right with the Dodgers, the Lakers, the LA Kings, and the Rams, and those seasons overlapping each other at some point throughout the year. You're right. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how they crowd that in with all of the other four major North American sports teams there in LA.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Yep. Glad I'm not organizing.
Yeah, I won't be attending. I'll I might watch from the couch.
Smart man.
Tickets will go on sale in 25. Yep, June 11th till July 19th.
So, Ryan, I know deep down inside you got to be pretty happy about the Phillies re-signing Aaron Nola, huh?
Also, the same thing I've said about Aaron Nola for years. If he's the number 2 in your rotation, you better have a good offense. If he's the number 3, that makes you very comfortable.
That's bad.
Kind of what it is. There wasn't. I think, given the way that the starting pitching market has unfolded, it's probably better that he came back than you taking a gamble on a guy like Snell, who clearly at this point wants a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. Aaron Nola is who he is, and I just wish the rest of the fan base would realize that.
What's going on with Stephen Walker?
With who?
Walker. It says he's injured.
Taiwan Walker? Yeah, he's rehabbing right now. I don't think there's any issues with him going into opening day, but he's rehabbing a knee. He just pitched 2 innings the other day.
Okay.
So he looked pretty solid. Command was a little iffy, but his movement was pretty good. And then Wheeler dominated, 3 innings in spring ball. Kind of nice to see. Right. He got a huge chunk of change too.
Have you gone over to any games, right?
Oh yeah. I was just at the Tigers game in Lakeland. Phillies Tigers game. Lakeland's about an hour from me. So I was just over there Not this past weekend, the weekend before that.
Obviously, it was snowing here yesterday, so there's no spring training by me.
Yeah. Now what stunk about that was it was a split squad day. Me and Bill got Ranger Suarez and Bryson Stott, and Harper and Realmuto and Schwarber and Turner. They were all at the other site.
Whoops.
Yeah, well, it was either drive 2 hours to see those guys play 3 innings or drive an hour to see, a baseball game. Like they weren't if they were going to play the whole game, that's a little different story. But
Yeah, right.
So, Ryan, I'm sure a lot of this audience wants to hear your reaction to that big signing today by the Eagles.
I'm iffy on it. I think the team had bigger fish to fry. I would have loved to have seen that. And it's very unorthodox, very out of character for them to pay a free agent running back. So now with the increase in salary cap being way more than expected, it does alleviate some of the question marks around it. But ultimately, I would have liked to have seen them, pay somebody in the secondary or, go get a linebacker before a running back, truthfully. But I think ultimately we paid for a name and not a need for the team. I don't think Barkley has quite lived up to his hype. Been a good running back, don't get me wrong. He'll be very productive and he's going to do very good things, but just not a position of need for this team as much as other ones.
So you have been okay with drafting a running back in the draft?
Yeah, we're signing a cheaper running back. I would have been okay if they brought back Swift. Maybe like did Swift and Dillon, something like that. Thunder and lightning kind of thing. But yeah, and I'm more hyped about the signing of Bryce Huff. Personally, needed an edge rusher, especially with Cox going out and saying I'm done. Cox and Kelsey retiring sucks.
So Ryan, we know that Hassan Reddick was given permission to seek a trade. Any recent news about that? Is he on his way out anytime soon?
I think with the signing of Huff, there's probably something that tells me that either Sweat or Reddick is walking. One of those two is going somewhere, but I haven't heard one or the other going any particular place or direction. I just feel like that they spent $17 million on a guy in free agency. He's going to play starter snaps. You've got Graham, and then you've got whichever other one decides to stick around. You've got Nolan Smith. So they have some edge talent. I wouldn't be surprised. It'd probably be Reddick if I had to guess.
How the heck are they going to replace Kelsey on that offensive line, man? He's going to be a big loss, not only on the field, but in the locker room, too.
If I had to guess, Juergens is probably going to move from right guard to center. They drafted Juergens initially to be Kelsey's replacement. Kelsey said he's coming back for another year. And Juergens is probably more Kelsey's size. He was always an undersized guard, which, didn't really make out too well in the run game, but I feel like he's more of an athletic build, kind of like what Kelsey was. Jason Kelsey is irreplaceable as far as, his blitz call outs, his recognition of defenses, his leadership. But I think from purely an athletic standpoint, we won't miss too much of a beat if that's the move.
Interesting.
But yeah, then you got the problem of guard. So funny, Dickerson was drafted as a potential replacement for Kelsey too, because he was a center and guard coming out of college, but now he's obviously the highest paid guard in NFL history. He's not moving off of that spot.
Yeah, right.
So it'll be interesting. Got the best offensive line coach in the NFL, so not super concerned about it. I'm sure they'll figure it out. Plus the Eagles kind of breed offensive linemen, so
Yeah, they do have a history of producing some good guys there in the trenches, so you have to feel good about that.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, how you feeling about the Packers, man? Xavier McKinney.
Oh, well, I like the McKinney deal. The Packers had a lot of problems in their defensive backfield this past season, and I think McKinney will help shore up some of the holes that they had there, especially at the safety position. Um, as happy as I am that they got Josh Jacobs, because he will essentially be able to do the same things that Aaron Jones did in that offense, not only as a runner split to the outside, but as another option receiver as well. I got to tell you, Ryan, losing Aaron Jones hurts. It hurts because he wasn't just a flash in the pan. When he was healthy and when he contributed, he was consistent every game. He's also a fan favorite up there in the tundra. So I don't know how that's going to go over real well with the majority of the fan base. But again, looking at who they got to replace him, Josh Jacobs. We know how versatile this guy is. We know how dangerous he is as a multi-tool Swiss Army knife type of weapon. And actually, I'm going to be more excited to see Jacobs in a more competent offense this year than what he has been in the Raiders offense for the last 3 or 4 years. We saw what Jordan Love can do. They're set at the wide receiver position with Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, and they're set with Christian Watson. They lost Runyon on the offensive line. Okay, yeah, I kind of figured they were going to lose him anyway if they weren't able to restructure his contract. But still, the point being is that you put Jacobs in that offense versus the Raiders' sluggish offense. Really, really excited to see if they can expand more on his skills and abilities than what the Raiders weren't able to do with him.
He's also got some power in him too. He can kind of replace Dillon in that aspect too. You got Jones and Dillon in one guy.
That's right. He's actually a very good in between the tackles tackle runner. And if Green Bay can create a lot of holes for him there in between the right guard and the right tackle, left guard and the left tackle, you're right. He's going to see an awful lot of daylight at the other end of the football field there with his speed and his ability to break from the field tackler.
Hey, how do you leave out Tucker? How do you leave out Kraft, Musgrave, Dobbs?
Yeah, right, dude. You left out both tight ends and Dobbs. I noticed that too, but I was gonna.
Oh no, I love our tight ends. I actually like Musgrave the best. I think Musgrave to me reminds me of another. Forgive me for saying this because we all know how his career ended, but he reminds me of another Mark Chmura, another big tight end, nice soft hands, really does well playing against and off the defender. Yeah, I like him, but I also like the other guys too for the multitude of skill sets that they have. So they're very deep and very young at that tight end position, which makes them again a very, very good and very scary offense for the next several years here.
They're just a young offense in general. It's not even just tight end. I mean, Jacobs, off the top of my head, Jacobs is their oldest skill position player.
He is. He's their oldest skill position player. All their other guys are well under the age of 25. I think Christian Watson's barely 21, 22. Jaden Reed, barely 21, 22. So you're right, Ryan. They have a lot of young guys who aren't even in the primes of their careers yet. And we saw what they did this season when they weren't in the primes of their career. They put up some really big numbers, especially in the postseason, even though they lost to San Francisco in the divisional round. Jaden Reed, a lot of clutch catches. Dontavian Wicks, a lot of clutch catches. And if Christian Watson hadn't lost more than half the season because of that damn hamstring injury, he probably could have been a 1,000-yard receiver this year. So, yeah, I'm excited about what our offense is going to be able to do here. Again, sad we lost Aaron Jones, but really geeked to see what Josh Jacobs will bring to the table here.
So how comfortable are you as a Packers fan with the receiving core? Because, yes, they're young. Then they have plenty of potential to grow. But I think on the outside looking in, and don't get me wrong, I love Jaden Reed. It looks like they lack a true dominant wide receiver that could potentially put that team over the top, right? Especially with the way they lost that game to San Francisco. That was a game they had no business losing.
Right. I agree with you on that. Christian Watson could be the over-the-top dominant wide receiver that they need if he can stay healthy, if he continues his development. Is he built that way as a wide receiver? No, not yet. Does he have the mentality to be that type of wide receiver yet? No, not really. But I think with his skill set, with his size, with his ability to break free from the defenders, he has the ability to be that next Sterling Sharp, to be that next Donald Driver, to be that next number one go-to guy that's always there for that clutch play when you need it. And Ryan, you actually bring up a very good point about them not having a legitimate star receiver out of that group of young players. I think that also illustrates just how dangerous of an offense they are. Because even though they don't have that number one true threat, look at what they were still able to do. Jordan Love was able to disperse the ball to a number of different players who excelled at either short yardage situations, deep yard situations, and worked out really well for them.
The thing I really picked up on with your team up there in Green Bay, Jay, was they were able to leave receivers that go not even catching a ball for 3 to 4 games, and then all of a sudden there's a 130-yard game right there with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. They were kind of able to come out of the woodwork when you least expect.
I don't know if it was part of the game plan or how they were, but that was just something I picked up on because, I mean, look at the playoff game.
Yep.
Look at both playoff games.
Yep.
I mean, Romeo Dobbs didn't have a single catch in the last 3 games of the year, I think, and then all of a sudden, 2 touchdowns and 148 yards against the Cowboys?
Yep. Well, another thing too is that after about, I want to say week 8 or week 9 was when Matt LaFleur finally wised up and opened up the playbook a lot. Because up until that point, Green Bay was struggling. They were playing really conservative football. It was 3 and out on almost every other possession. They were trying to focus their offense more on running the ball rather than throwing the ball. And then after week 6, after week 7, Green Bay just went nuts. And that's because LaFleur opened up the offense. He opened up the playbook and he said, all right, let's see what these young kids can do at wide receiver. And we saw what they could do. He also wanted to see what Jordan Love can do, because I think one of the reasons why their offense was a little more conservative the first half of the season was they wanted to preserve Jordan Love. They didn't want to put the pressure of the game on his young shoulders to begin with. And then when LaFleur realized, hey, we have a vanilla offense that's very easy to game plan against here, the only way we're going to get some respect and get any wins is if we go downfield a little bit more. And so he finally tailored the offense to Jordan Love and said, Jordan, do what you do best and throw that football. And we saw what he did. And Jordan, yeah, he had some games where I came away scratching my head saying, what the hell were you thinking throwing into double and triple coverage there, buddy? But at the same time, he had a lot of poise towards the end of the season and really developed a good rapport with those young receivers. So really excited about that too.
Jay, real quick, your dog is not on your pennants, is he?
No, she is not. And I have my pennants securely bagged up and they're safe. They're good. Back here.
I was just making sure. I knew they were like in that area.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Trust me.
So Ryan, while we're on football, what happened to the call in Philadelphia?
What happened during the season?
Yeah, because that was just disastrous.
I think it was. I mean, you can't really ever point to just one particular thing when a collapse like that happens, right? I think first off, the writing it was in between the lines. You could see it even when they were winning games, just in the fashion that they were winning games. It was ugly. It was always come from behind, and they were doing it against some good teams, which was kind of what was really confusing, right? Like they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City on a comeback victory. They beat Buffalo. They beat so many good teams. And then I just think that this team eventually fell apart and collapsed. I mean, the defense gave up on both defensive coordinators, both Matt Patricia and Sean Desai, as well as the offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson. And credit to Nick Sirianni. He was kind of jumping on the fire there, in the media, but taking a lot of responsibility. I don't know if you guys saw it. There was a particular play in Seattle where the players kind of made up their own play. And then post-game, it ended up being an interception. And in post-game, Sirianni said, yeah, we just wanted to try and attack A.J. Brown downfield. A.J. Brown said later in the year that the players just made up their own play, and Sirianni just took the bullet for him. He was like, I've never respected anybody more in my life for that moment. So, but yeah, I just think it was a combination of things. One, I don't think they were as good as the record. I don't think they were as good as the record said. I think the coordinators on the team weren't very good. They were very outmatched as far as game playing goes, and yeah, I think it just caught up to them.
Yeah, I mean, the Jalen Hurts side hurt me in the Dynasty League, so I wasn't real happy about that.
Oh, Jalen Hurts did me just fine. QB2 on the season. Got a lot of points for Jalen. I don't even like keeping Eagles players on my fantasy teams. The last Eagles player I had on my fantasy team before 2 years ago
And I
was.
did my opening dynasty. Check out that little trophy.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that. Not bad.
How
I
much
love
did that cost?
I don't know. I didn't buy it. The commissioner bought it.
Nice.
I
Oh,
just
so your
have-
league does it the right way.
I just have it at my house because I won.
Hmm.
And I won last year's too. But that trophy had to go back because obviously I didn't win that league.
Ryan,
Yeah,
don't
very-
forget about the last Eagles players on your fantasy team, man. The last Eagles player I had on my fantasy team was Deshaun Jackson. So that's how far back I go as far as having Eagles players on my teams, man.
So
I don't like drafted Ravens because they're in my division.
what I don't like about it is, it's kind of that double-edged sword of like you want them to do well for two different reasons, and then when they don't do well, it hurts you doubly. But the last Eagles player I had before 2 years ago was Carson Wentz the year he went off. Now you're thinking, that's great, he went off. How many fourth quarters did he sit? And I ended up losing fantasy points because the Eagles were blowing everybody out that year. It was killing me. I said, I'm not doing this anymore.
I had Brown and Hurts. I had them two locked up for a while because it's a dynasty team. I can get rid of them whenever I want to get rid of them.
The Bengals just signed Zach Moss to a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Did this happen?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if Joe Mixon already wasn't a cut candidate.
Actually, Tom Pelissaro just reported here, Ryan, that the Bengals are releasing Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
He's not going to.
Surprise.
Yep. No shock there. And then
Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. I'd bet Alvin Kamara's next.
Yep. Sounds about right. Sounds about right.
I mean, once you hit 20, 26, 27, people, the league don't like you anymore.
Right. Well, and then who was it that signed Tony Pollard today, formerly of the Cowboys?
Titans.
The Titans, that's right. So if
I thought Spears was going to be the guy.
Nah, I never liked Spears going to Tennessee. I just didn't see that. I think Pollard going to Tennessee makes more sense for them than what Spears does. That's just me. But I think now that if with Pollard now in Tennessee, does this now foreshadow Derrick Henry going to Dallas? Essentially, two guys swapping teams there.
I just got an update that says Baltimore and Derrick Henry have very mutual interest now.
Ooh.
I think reports like that are kind of a load of bogus, but I mean, at the same time, like I could see him going.
Was interested in Henry the other day, so
yeah. Like I could totally see Derrick Henry going to Baltimore, but 99% of the time when I hear these guys have mutual interest.
Baltimore is not going to have J.K. Dobbins. They lost Gus Edwards today. I forget where did he go to L.A.
Gus Edwards, yeah, he went to the Chargers.
So their running back situation is not good in Baltimore right now.
I wonder if anybody's actually going to sign J.K. Dobbins.
Somebody will. Yeah,
That's high risk signing.
I don't know that anybody will during this period of free agency. I think it'll be during camp, if anything.
I think it's going to be like one of them late editions.
Just Achilles tear and ACL tear. Like, no thanks. I'll pass.
Like, what do you come back on? Like, you want to get paid, but at the same time, maybe you still want to play. Is Nick Chubb coming back? I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in the last year of his deal too, but I've heard he was going to get traded. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
I mean, this is his second knee completely surgery.
Yeah, I don't think it was ACL this time. I think it was MCL and something else. It was really weird. Like, I thought his knee was totally screwed, and the injury ended up being not.
Your leg's not supposed to bend the way it's bent.
Yeah, no, he got who was that running back from South Carolina like years ago that got his leg jacked up like that? Lattimore.
Yeah,
what was his first name?
Marcus. It was Marcus.
Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah. That's right. I remember that.
Oof. Anyway, sometimes you feel that pain whenever you even think about that as injury.
Yep.
Yeah, I just remember watching that Chubb injury. That was brutal.
It didn't look that bad on the live camera angle when they first showed it, and then they kept showing replays of it, and then they flipped it, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah,
yeah, that was bad." So there must be no work in the NFL free agency. I still do not have that signing Bengals on my sheet.
Do you not have ESPN updates?
Nothing popped up on my end as of right now.
Do you have sleeper updates on?
No.
But
Hey, Ryan, how good is Landon Dickerson? I noticed that the Eagles I just noticed the Eagles signed him to a deal.
Well, Landon Dickerson was originally drafted a few years ago to be the heir apparent to Jason Kelsey.
Oh, you just talked about him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now he's the highest paid guard ever.
That's what concerns me the most about the Packers going into next season is where are they going to get all that depth on the offensive line? They let Runyon go. Bakhtiari's gone. He's probably going to retire. I know they still have Elgton Jenkins there, but and some of those other guys, but they're seriously lacking in depth on the offensive line. They got to go out and do something to put some more stability in the trenches there if they're going to be as good of an offense next year as they were this season.
I mean, this draft should be a pretty good offensive line draft too. So
there's a lot of big boys in this draft.
Yeah, yep. We'll see, particularly at tackle.
Yep.
I didn't break down any of the draft yet. I always try to wait till free agency. Obviously, the Steelers don't think they need a quarterback, but
what do you mean? They got dangerous Wilson.
Dangerous, right? That's not dangerous in a good way.
At $1 million, I really don't think it's that bad of a deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't. I don't know.
The Steelers have this habitual issue where they can.
He laughs at losses. He doesn't take it serious.
Yeah, no, he's checked out of football.
Like he's here for a paycheck and go home. Like he could have went on a 2-year vacation and still made $85 million fucking dollars. Bye.
The Steelers they just have this issue where they can't do poorly enough to go draft a franchise quarterback. They just got to suck like real bad for 1 year.
Tomlin's scared because that will break his non-trophy winning season.
Ryan, I tried to sell him on the low risk, high reward aspect of Russell Wilson earlier, and he just wasn't having it. He said, "No, forget it. I don't see any high reward there."
I don't know. The only what are they going to do? Put him in the red zone? Apparently, they threw 20 touchdowns in the red zone, so he's got good red zone, I guess.
He's a good deep ball thrower too. Should be good for Pickens.
I just think of the Super Bowl interception.
You don't think of his Super Bowl win?
Really? That was that game shouldn't even you shouldn't be playing in an open stadium in the middle of New York, New Jersey, in the middle of winter. Like the Super Bowl's just been hot, nice indoors. Okay, I know it rained. I know it rained for the Indy Chicago game. I get it. But I mean, it's a warmer climate game. It's not meant to be played. Just a Super Bowl, and I have no idea why. Maybe because that's the way it was growing up. But I mean, that's just something that's becoming a custom to.
I'm surprised none of us have talked about Justin Fields yet. What the hell? I know nothing's happened yet.
Nothing to talk about. Nothing's happened.
True. Mic drop. Right.
So, okay, I got you two on the show. I had outdated on last night. Do you think the Vikings trade up and go after Caleb Williams?
No.
It would go back to his college days during the Jordan Addison.
Nope.
He doesn't play well with no name receivers.
Chicago's
And for the Bears-
already said, Adam, Chicago has already said that they are not moving out of that number 1 spot. They have already said they are taking Caleb Williams, whether he likes it or not. So I don't see anybody moving up to get Caleb Williams because Chicago won't deal him.
So it's funny because I've heard the opposite. I've heard that
Really?
Chicago's now listening to offers for the first overall pick because
What?
they can't get what they want for Fields.
Oh, okay. That changes the narrative then. Okay.
So I don't think Minnesota trades up, not because it's not a good idea, but I just don't think they have the firepower to jump from 11 to
No.
1. I mean, if you look at what Carolina did to jump from, what was it, 8 to 1 last year? I mean, Minnesota's paying an arm more than that, and I just don't think they have it.
Nope.
And I think the only fit would be Minnesota for Caleb Williams. That is my honest thought, and I just don't see him playing well anywhere else.
I think from an organizational standpoint, it's smarter for the Bears to trade the first overall pick. I don't think Justin Fields played that bad last year.
They also only have 5 picks this year. So trades down for more picks does seem like a pretty good idea.
Like what's Caleb Williams going to solve for the Bears?
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing
Zero.
at all.
No.
Their defense sucks. I mean, he's not going to play defense for them.
Like Aldata was saying last night, he would trade with Carolina or who has that second pick?
Washington.
He said he would trade right down the line and get the 2 and the 3 to move up, and then put them in that 3rd and 4th spot, and try and end up with Marvin Harrison and someone else. I forget who else he said.
I think Marvin Harrison's all but going to be a Cardinal.
Oh, he might be. Here's my problem with Caleb Williams, guys. You guys know I live out here on the West Coast. He played at USC. I watched a lot of his games, not only this year, but just the red flags with Caleb Williams to me aren't around his talent. The red flags for me come with what's up here, what's upstairs. This guy is a clown. Months before he's getting drafted, he's already demanding part ownership stakes in the team that drafts him. He wants the royal red carpet treatment. He wants this. He wants that. He's making this demand. He's making that demand. And then also, when you saw the way that when he carried himself on the sideline during big games that they lost, and USC, by the way, highly, highly overrated, as we found out, guys. Up here, Caleb Williams is right now, from a developmental standpoint, is still a mental cupcake. And the problem he's going to run into when he gets drafted in the NFL, regardless of whether he's a day 1 starter or not, is that when he gets his butt kicked by these guys who are 10 times stronger and 10 times faster than the defensive players he played against in college, how is he going to adjust to it mentally? The red flags are there for him. That's what I don't like about Caleb. It's not the talent. It's the fact that from a development standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, what can he provide as a rookie? I don't see it there. Another Jamarcus Russell, another Vince Young, another Ryan Leaf is what I see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong, but that's what I see. Another Ryan Leaf, another Jamarcus Russell, another Vince Young. Adam, Ryan, prove me. Prove me I'm wrong.
Well, I already said I don't think he's number 1 pick. I mean, I'm watching that Notre Dame game. That was the end of you wanting Caleb Williams to be a first pick ever.
Yep.
I mean, that game just went south and kept going south.
Yep.
Much to my joy.
Thank you.
So all right, guys, we've been BSing a while. We've back and forth between baseball and football. I know Jason's staying a little later than normal today.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bounce out of here myself. It's a little late for me.
That's why I was trying to end the show.
Oh, okay.
I think actually now is a good time to cut it loose, since it seems like we're all kind of at the end there.
Yeah, 5 o'clock comes early.
I thought it was a good show, boys. Obviously you had computer issues. I'm glad your computer decided to play. Let's get this shit done.
That was incredible. I've never seen that before, but I'm glad it's updated and over with.
Right? Well, Ryan, how do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BSing_sports. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts to. BSing Sports Podcast, part of the BSing network.
What days do you guys go?
Oh, man, we're all the time. 3-4 times a week.
Nice.
We do MLB on Saturdays, sports betting on Sundays. Jake and I usually hit up fantasy football once during the week. We got everything all the time.
Nice. I'm glad you're back on the mic too. I know you were working to get your work schedule back in line and figure that out with your sleep habits. I'm glad you're back on the mic. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But Ryan, I thank you. I'm glad your computer cooperated and you got to pop on. Jay, how do they get you?
Well, pretty much like Ryan. You guys can find me on Twitter at Dodger Jason. I left out my ampersand there. Sorry about that. Unlike Ryan, I don't have my own podcast, but Adam, you're trying to help me with that right now. So stay tuned for that.
On Dodger Blue Talk with Jason, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, in the near future. If and when I'm able to get that going, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, you guys can follow me on Dr. Jason. Go ahead and interact with me, leave some comments. Go ahead and carte blanche. Just say whatever you want. You'll find out I'm a nice guy.
All right. Jay, hold on afterwards. I want to tell you one more thing that I found that you might like.
Okay, you got it.
So I am at Sports Talking It, obviously out there on the Twitter handle. You can also find us on Driving to the Top Productions on YouTube. I thank the guy for the comments. I don't speak another language, so I didn't know his name. But yes, we are obviously looking forward to the World Cup. Me and Jay even joked about going. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a reality. So yeah, you can find us there. I don't know what the rest of my week has planned. Hopefully some more shows. That's all I'm just trying to do for now. And hey, everybody have a good night.
Peace out, everyone. God bless.